ask that you not take them out into the museum itself. Otherwise, I am very honored to be the one to be able to introduce here somebody that you're all very familiar with. Oh, music off. Thank you.
As I was preparing, I threw this away. Sure. But if you have read page 51, what Pippa passes, it says somewhere, can't find it. She choose 63. Okay. If Pippa, my 7-month-old puppy, smells cookie crumbs, she chews into the pocket of my best flannel shirt, fleece vest, or good jeans. So I figured if she can't be here, at least I can wear her shirt. And so I won't throw it away because I love my puppy. Another poem talks about evacuating when the Thwaites Glacier melts and sea level rises 2 to 3 feet. And if I have I gotta back up. 1 hour to pack everything I own in my car. Great grandmother's compass locket is one thing I will bring. So that's what I'm going to bring. Okay, so what I've done is, Christine, am I supposed to see me?
Yes.
Okay, I asked my friends that I have had books for the last month to tell me their favorite poems. So that's what I'm reading to you today. And if you have any that you want to either tell me or Beth and Barbara to tell me to read, I'm going to start with Tonglen.
That's my favorite.
Yay. This is like a packed crowd of favorite people. Okay, Tonglen, practicing Tonglen. In Buddhist meditation, you envision breathing in light, breathing out light. Tonglen is a more sophisticated practice. Breathing in the hot smoke of others' pain and breathing out cool light to the sufferer. In Tibetan, Tonglen means sending and receiving. I am grieving. The Amazon forest, source of oxygen, home to zillions of plants and creatures, is burning. In July, the hottest month ever recorded, 200 billion tons of ice melted in Greenland, seabirds going extinct. In Iceland, puffins can't feed their chicks, sand eels displaced by cold water mackerel because the Arctic is melting. On Mauna Loa in 1958, Keeling measured carbon in the atmosphere at 315 parts per million. Earth cannot recover, he said, if it rises above 350. 65 years later, it's 420. The Earth is toast. My Zen mentor, John Elder, told my class 20 years ago. Last year, he told our Orion workshop, we have bought the ticket for the end of the Earth as we know it. We must grieve what we are losing, but celebrate what we love. My mountain friends ask me again, how much longer are you going to live at the coast? I worry about sea level rise, hurricanes, blind leaders, fewer black skimmers at Bird Shoal, fewer swans and ducks at Mattamuskeet. As bullies bulldoze mine drill log habitats, I voice my own rage and fear instead of pushing them away. In my grief, I kayak with shorebirds to refill joy. I practice Tonglen to breathe in Earth's looming darkness and breathe out life to diminishing butterflies, starving puffins. Am I strong enough? Breathe in darkness, breathe out light. Next one is Finisterre, which means end of the earth. As pilgrim, I walked to the ends of the earth. To Finisterre in Galicia on Camino de Santiago, to Cap Finisterre in Brittany, to Land's End in Cornwall, westernmost cliffs of Europe, end of the known world. Looking west where the sun dies, Celts worshipped the dying sun. They wondered what was beyond the horizon, then set sail with faith. From Finisterre, I looked back across the Atlantic to my own low, sandy coast. 20 years ago, 3,000 black skimmers rolled in waves above Bird Shoal where I kayak. Now 300 wing above me. I hardly noticed their vanishing. All shorebirds have declined 70% in 40 years. A third more of shorebirds, seabirds, songbirds I love will be extinct in decades. Do you want me to be on the picture?
They can see
All right, fine. All right. Number 2, catastrophe is becoming routine. And our response wrote, blowing 180, Hurricane Dorian blasted the Abacos, leveled 2 friends' houses where I sailed 5 winters. Dorian grazed my Beaufort home, but 2 islands in front of town, barriers to wind and storm surge are eroding. If a hurricane lands here, Beaufort is exposed to a direct hit. Up the coast, Dorian cut 54 new inlets on core banks and overwashed Ocracoke 9 feet. As sea level rises, I am seeing the end of Earth as I know it. Full moon king tide floods Front Street 3rd time this year. How much longer can I live at the coast? There will be more stronger hurricanes. No. Warren Pilkey says, leave now, go inland. On shore, I gaze at vast water, east where the sun rises, across the Atlantic to Celtic cliff paths I walked. I'm looking what people requested. Dow of water, that's another one. Oh, there's lots of them. Okay. This one's called Beach Combing, dedicated to my daddy. Long dress boxes in the attic, shells archived in white tissue. I would open the boxes in wonder, reciting names of shells, angel wings, lace murex, treasures my father and I found together on Sanibel, fighting conch like a fist, lettered olive, banded tulip. I learned their names, the only poetry my father shared. Rare to find such intricate shells not battered by surf. His only rule, keep no shells with a critter still alive inside. The winter he was recovering from hepatitis when I was 5, we walked calm Gulf of Mexico beaches before there was a bridge to the islands. In our cabin, he taught me to play gin rummy. We pieced jigsaw puzzles of faraway places. When my father died when I was 29, my mother threw away all the shells he and I had collected. When I searched, she said, they're gone. Now shells from beaches of every ocean I have sailed crowd my bookshelves as if a tidal wave filled my house with sand and shells. I'm just going on. Dow of water. My kayak waits on the town racks at Gordon Street. I paddle against the tide so I can float back. If tides are right, I can circumnavigate Carrot Island 7 miles and paddle against tide only 1 mile. Current is strong in the center of the creek, weaker near shore. Today, 3 rare sandhill cranes are grazing in a marsh. Tide in Taylor's Creek flows 3 or 4 knots, so I can swim in place or stop kicking and float backward. The creek is cleaner without Menhaden Gully. Still, stormwater runoff from lawn chemicals, road petrol, mosquito poison, direct sewage outfalls. I can shower off sea salt and scum. Tide flows in 6 hours, slack high, flows out 6 hours. The creek keeps rising. The Dow says water is humble, goes downhill, can flow in any direction, unafraid of high or low. Nothing is tougher or weaker than water, yet nothing is better at overcoming the hard and strong. Before motorboats disturb it, the creek surface can be slick cam silk, reflecting sunlight or moonshine. I chide myself I should row at 5 a.m., but never do. When high wind opposes tide, whitecaps tumble down the creek. The surface can flow backward with the wind, but the tide still pulls the bottom layer out to sea. Water circles in eddies. The Dow says water goes wherever it wants. With rising sea level and frequent king tides, The creek flows onto Front Street into stores, up the house steps 3 times a year. Sometimes the tide keeps rising, bubbles up like oatmeal boiling out of my stovetop pot. I've been striving against the tide my whole life. The Tao says, be as you are. So I'm selling a few books here, but Sunny is also selling them in the museum store. What I sell here, the proceeds go to Bonehenge and Friends of the Museum. So let me say that, let me just go to Neonate, wherever that one is. I should have my pages. I do. Since I just said reading. Page 53. So if you want to go to bonehenge.org, you can look up how to ID, dolphin ID, and there are pictures of many, many dorsal fins. Because what Keith does at Bonehenge is take pictures for 35 years and identify dolphins from their scars on their fins and knows them. He knows them and they know him too. And we have 3 populations. We have summer dolphins, winter dolphins, and migratory dolphins that pass through. Okay, this was called neonate, not. Feeding along the channel edge at the north end of Newport River, slick gray dolphins surface and dive. As they move up Core Creek, I call 3 o'clock, 200 feet for Keith to photograph dorsal fins, how he identifies them. A newborn 3 feet long pops up buoyant like a black plastic toy. Silver, smooth, fin with no gouges yet, enchanted, enamored. I want to dive and swim with them. The sun is shining. 1st of May is birthing season. A 60-foot yacht, Sunbird, powering north, sends a huge wake that rocks our skiff. Elevated on the tower, I hold on. I worry about collision, but Keith assures me dolphins can avoid propellers. The calf swims in the slipstream between mother and aunt, saving energy. Calves start swimming in the womb, born tail first, knowing how to swim. Dolphin babies, Keith says, like this one, are likely to die within a year. Mother's milk is full of pesticides in the fish they eat, in the fish we eat. The bright water is no longer so innocent. Firstborn drink a lethal dose of toxins stored in mother's fat. 2nd and 3rd babies have a better chance to live. Of 10 calves in a study, the one orphaned after 4 months, who foraged for itself, survived. 9 calves who nursed for a year all died. After Hurricane Florence, the county aerial sprayed poison to kill mosquitoes, promised they wouldn't spray over water. But Penny stood on her shoreline, shaking her fist at a plane as a plane sprayed their clam beds 3 times. Smug, I use no pesticide in my house or garden, but I just assume the town nuke and drain the stagnant water that breeds mosquitoes in my neighbor's backyard. Am I inconsistent, complicit? With her load of poison, does the mama dolphin also carry the knowledge she is killing her calf? She will not feed her baby. So moving on. It's true, I think. Scientists know that stuff. We don't, or citizen humans. We don't know the stuff that all the scientists know. And it's like sad to find out. If anybody wants to talk or ask questions, just yell, please. Patience. Because I have I have 3 poetry books, and I'll read a couple from each one, but I'll read a whole lot from the new one. Patience. The scary part for me on the Camino in Spain was not knowing where we'd sleep. Every day we walked to the end of the day, passing towns on the sacred path, following the line on a map. I was faster in the morning when my godson Ben hobbled half asleep until we stopped for coffee and omelet. If Ben was faster midday, he'd wait at the top of the hill. On the third night, we stopped at an albergue with 4 bunk beds. Madeline, the Dutch host, bought the house after she'd walked the Camino 3 times. Every other day, she walked 8 miles to buy food to serve guests breakfast and dinner. She ministered to pilgrims' blisters, pierced salve, bandage. I had no blisters. My feet and shoes were well worn, but Madeline sensed my weak point and assured me, don't worry, you will find a bed to sleep every night. You will learn patience. We slept at a farm and a nunnery over a pub, a gym with 200 mattresses and 2 toilets. One night, I feared I'd fall off the top narrow bunk over a man who snored all night. Once Ben was allergic to horses behind a thin wall. One night, I dreamed we could not find the door in a fire. On the Camino, Ben and I argued. We made decisions together, took turns making decisions, trusted each other's judgment. When Ben married Taylor 8 years later, this was my toast. Learn to argue, decide together, take turns making decisions, trust each other's judgment. The true journey begins when you reach the cathedral and will walk the rest of the world as a pilgrim. Ben at that time was 20. Virginia Tech, a month earlier, some kid had shot 32 people. So this was Ben walked the Camino with me. So Ben is now married and has 3 babies. And is working around the world for NASDAQ. And when the summer after we walked the Camino, he worked in Portugal for 6 months for some company. And they said, no, you didn't walk the Camino, you're an American. And he said, I did. So that's his, and he just finished his MBA. And it was my fault. I told him he had to. And he got a promotion and a raise when he did. And I talk about willets diminishing 80% because their nests flood. Great egrets, whose rookery in Yopon trees were killed by saltwater, sea level rise, saltwater intrusion. Okay, this one's called starboard. How many of you are sailors? What does starboard mean? Wind is coming over the right side of the boat. Starboard. Okie doke. I was tired. I've been on the board of junior sailing at the museum for 20 some years. 44 years ago, I taught summer science. I'm a skipper when we had women sailing. And now I'm in charge coordinating the gardens in front of the Maritime Museum for master gardeners. So they very kindly allowing me to read my poetry. I was tired after that hot morning, skippering a Sharpie in 2 wooden boat races. I'm not competitive, but know rules of the road and fight fair. In the first race, I missed the start and we placed 3rd. Next race, I run the starting line on starboard tack, ready to jibe and cross at the gunshot. Motorboaters from out of town, sailing Sea Raven, charge the line on port tack, coming fast, straight on, like a storm over warm ocean. I yell, starboard! Befuddled, they mumble. What'd that lady say? I yell, we have right of way. No response. I swing the tiller to veer off course to avoid damaging my bow, their borrowed boat. Ready about, my crew does quick work with jib sheets after my nap on the red bench. We win afternoon races. So this is fun. A bunch of people have asked me to read the title poem, Drought, Torrential, but it's 3 pages. So I think if I have time, I might go back to the end of it. But the punchline is, I'll just read this part. A New Age Findhorn philosopher, Northeast Scotland, said, do I move too much?
No, you are great. Somebody just wanted to come in.
Talk to your plants, and I do. Always leave a wild part, he said, where he chatted with the nature god Pan. In my wild native grove of Yopon and Myrtle, I do not welcome feral cats under bird feeders, where I lure painted buntings with millet. When I asked about climate change, a gardener in Scotland's botanical garden said, no rain, then too much, drought, torrential. So, and I said, whoa, that's a title. How to pick a good one. Okay, in previous book, I have how to get rid of sweet ants. You live in Beaufort, there's several trillion. There's no way. I might read that one, people laugh. This one's called How to Pick a Good One. Paddling on a hot morning, I munch frozen watermelon, the original popsicle, to rehydrate and cool my body. Who knew as a kid that watermelon is good for bones and eyes, full of vitamins and minerals, prevents cancer, lowers blood pressure, increases brain power? I buy a watermelon every week from Joe Merrill at the farmer's market and freeze what I cannot eat. How can I tell from the outside if a watermelon is ripe? Joe says, look for the yellow belly, the field spot where it's been sitting. Curls at the stem should be dry. Better is no stem. Avoid a green stem that shows it's been picked too soon. The thump should sound deep and hollow. Go for weight. Have two of the same size and take the heavier one, which is juicier. The green rind should be dull, not shiny. Webbing on the rind shows how many times bees have kissed the flower. The more pollination, the sweeter the fruit. That's all quoting Joe. Gentle giant, stout and round. Joe drives his tractor on land his father has farmed 200 years. Just as you can't judge a human's character from the outside, learn to discern a melon's qualities inside. Integrity, sweetness, firm, not mushy. 2 seeds, few seeds. All right. Have any of you guys have this book already and want to request any poems? I've got people from watching. It's really fun. They're waving back. Hi, Brian. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Penny. Hi, Randy. Hi, Ted. Okay.
Hey, Susan, I've got a request.
Yes, sir.
October airing.
Okay, right there. Right there. Hey, Pam.
Where's the Cory, the bird?
Coreopsis?
Coreopsis has set in. That's in here too.
Yeah.
Can we request that one as well?
Okay.
You look great.
They're at CeeLo in the mountains. Good fun. October airing. Thank you, Christine.
Just want to make sure nobody else is waiting to get in.
Cleanest air in the world. Southwest prevailing breeze from the ocean. Brief season of open windows between air conditioning and heat pump. Catch rare days with low humidity to hang sheets on the clothesline. I did this last week. Purple and blue, tablecloths, towels from an antique chest on chest, lace edged Irish linen blowing clean. On the deck rail draped comforters from Germany, musty tents, sleeping bags, hand-stitched quilts with colored squares. 2 I treasure my father found in the mountains 60 years ago when he played golf with Ray Bolger, who was Scarecrow in Wizard of Oz. My puppy Pippa, who chewed the shirt, and I are still swimming open water in October. I've heard this will be a cold winter. First 2 nights of frost in November, I'll drain the well pump, roll up irrigation hoses, find a down quilt, and wear flannel pajamas. When I was whitewater kayaking in Oregon 50 years ago, I admired the white bearded fellow rowing the Mackenzie River drift boat to fetch us if we capsized. Water was so cold in July, we'd be hypothermic in minutes. I thought he was just a river bum, but after 2 weeks, he shaved, returned to his architect practice in Seattle. I told him, I want to be reincarnated as an otter. He told me, I want to be reincarnated as October. Okay, I got to find pithy quotes. All right. Page 44. For my May birthday, I sat with Beth and Julian overlooking their lawn of yellow asters and recalled, Coreopsis has set in. In 1975, my father collapsed at Beaux-Arts antique auction. Following the ambulance, I yelled, do not go gentle into that good night, rage, rage against the dying of the light. Doctors repaired scar tissue in his gut, cutting off blood supply, left after an appendicitis when he was 18. When they sliced open his chest, they found an aortic aneurysm ready to burst, but had to wait for him to recover before they did another critical surgery. When Daddy was home, I saw him wake, sheets to his chin, eyes open. He didn't know where he was. For his second surgery, I stayed at school. As I sat in my office, a student silently kept space with me while I graded papers. In 11th grade American Lit, my class had read that Thurber's Walter Mitty imagined himself a famous surgeon. In the operating room, a doctor said, Coreopsis has set in. That became a class buzzword. When a nosy teacher asked what was wrong with my father, the student said to comfort me, Coreopsis has set in. That's like no line breaks. That's what's called narrative poetry or prose poetry, which my friends accuse me of, instead of short lines. Any other requests? From the peanut gallery. Heaving two. All right, how about you, Neva? Did you have some requests?
I told you earlier that,
Right, you want me to read the whole thing? Okay, shoot, it's very long. Okay, who's a gardener here? Let me find heaving two. I'm looking. 67. You're good. 67. Heaving two. The whole thing? All right. Because it's 3 seconds. James.
Second section.
James.
Very touching.
All right. I'm going to read 2 and 3. Heaving two, page 67. Social distancing. I started writing this literally when pandemic hit 3 years ago, March, and governor said, stay at home. 3 years ago. So that's where these poems came from. Me sitting in the garden a lot. Social distancing means I play more in my gardens. Pea and bean seeds need fungal inoculant to grow. I do not want to order online as James, the UPS driver, is working 14-hour days and his wife died last year. 1st of April, I call No Name Pizza to ask if James is eating lunch. And they say no. I deliver $100 to No Name for James and ask Sunday school ladies to contribute. We thought the pandemic was going to last a month, maybe 2. I call him, James, you must eat lunch. He says, I'm too busy. Walking or cycling, when I pass his brown truck, I shake my fist. And James smiles, yes, I'm eating. So I order fungus for my peas because there wasn't any locally. You have to order online. The quarantine has been like heaving two in bad weather. Tack the sailboat and cleat the jib sheet opposite side of the mainsail, lash the tiller, stalled. The jib turns the boat away from the wind. The mainsail turns the boat into the wind, drifting nowhere. The keel dampens waves to windward and leaves a slick path in turbulent water. With low visibility, wait for daylight or fog to lift before landing. Does sailing in a storm apply to surviving coronavirus? adrift, no one at the helm. Solstice this week. Every religion celebrates the coming of light. And then one of my famous poems, what I'm not going to read, is what Pippa passes, because Pippa was named by an English professor colleague of mine because Robert Browning wrote a poem called Pippa Passes in 1841. And when somebody first saw that title, Pippa Passes, they said, oh no. I said, no, it's just poop. She didn't die. Page 45, the whole thing. Drought, torrential. Let me see what time we are. Oh, I've got tons of time. The whole yard is habitat. In the lull of pandemic spring, days pass without my noticing it hasn't rained. I scurry to turn on the well pump to spray flowering shrubs. Beautyberry, forsythia, rosemary for bees, Mexican sage for hummingbirds, fennel for swallowtails, yarrow. Twist the nozzle, full jet shower mist cone, back to full. When I prune St. John's wort, hypericum, I say out loud, how much should I cut? In my ear, I hear Wes, my plant mentor, who died in September, but more. I ask, enough? Wes says, cut more. Good to know he hasn't gone far. He's still yelling at me. In raised beds, I water winter greens, kale, chard, arugula. Lisa at the health food store gives me medicinal herb plants that attract pollinators. Clary, sage, and marshmallow grow 4 feet tall, so should be middle rather than edge of the patch. Invasive roots of hyssop and milk thistle need to be in a pot, like mallow, peppermint, and tulsi want to stay wet. Sage wants to be dry. Blooming borders are blue spiderwort, yellow lilies, hydrangea, milkweed for monarchs. In back beds, peas and beans, climb trellises topped with Mardi Gras beads to scare away birds. With shifting seasons, I don't know when strawberries will be peak, sweet, ripe for my May birthday shortcake. Every June I say, I'll pick tomorrow. I'll pick blueberries, but birds always eat them before I do. With 6 to 10 inches of rain predicted this week, I rise at 5 to open cistern faucets to hoses that drain to the woodlot. River birch, buckeye, arborvitae, magnolia, rhododendron, most from Wes's mountain nursery. Fruiting trees I share with birds, cherry laurel, loquat, kiwi, plum. Inevitably, next month will be too dry again. The Gulf Stream weaves 30 miles offshore Beaufort, so winter is 15 degrees warmer than inland and summer 15 degrees cooler. Winter and spring gardens are happier than summer gardens. For a decade, I have walked Celtic coastal paths warmed by the stream in Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Cornwall, Brittany, Galicia. Rhododendrons and palms thrive in coastal Scotland at the northern reach of the Gulf Stream. And I'll repeat, when I asked about climate change, a gardener in Scotland's botanical garden told me, no rain, then too much. Drought, torrential. End of May, I slice and grill my first harvest Cherokee purple tomato. Spring peas are popping, but after so much rain, cabbage worms have invaded my curly kale, Swiss chard. Spraying Dr. Bronner's Castile soap, though diluted, scars leaves with milky blotches. Dark beer in bowls attracts no worms and they munch away. So I rip out Brussels sprouts to plant summer squash, zucchini, sweet red and yellow peppers, marigolds to shoo away bugs. Not enough rain, dry ground gets hard, so heavy rain runs off. April, the windiest month ever. May, the driest. June, the wettest. Too much rain last week. Tropical storm Arthur. Bullfrogs in neighbor's swamp boom louder than thunder. Down the block, tadpole heads pop up in a flooded backyard. The lady pumps water, sluicing them to the street. My puppy Pippa snatches and swallows flattened roadkill frogs. Drought for 2 weeks. Now 4 days, wet days of tropical storm Bertha. There's no such thing anymore as hurricane season. One landed 1st of May, another July. Forecasters predict 3 to 6 big hurricanes this year, starting in June. We remember retired names like great aunts and uncles. Hazel, Donna, Hugo, Dennis, Floyd, Isabel, Lawrence. Any other immediate requests? I'm flipping. Okey doke. This is fun. And I'm going in 2 weeks to walk the coastal Wales and hope to see Chuffs. They're in here. And hope to see puffins, but it's probably not the season. I do talk in this book about pollinator gardens. The possible higher water. And now I'm going to sing one, if I can find it. Page 7. Oh, there's some on the other books. In the shining sunlit ocean south of Shackleford Banks, rolling swells lift our boat, spy hop smooth and slow. Brisk wind, end of January, water temp is 50, air temp is 38. Instead of blubber, I wear layers of silk, wool, Gore-Tex, foul weather hood over my fleece cap. Keith comes offshore to photograph dorsal fins. I yell 11 o'clock and point, red glove, fingers just left of the bow. 5 pewter gray mature dolphins race off, slapping tails, swooshing air before submerging 2 minutes. While we wait, we watch a dozen northern gannets with black tip white wings and blue bills fly high, swoop and dive for fish. Pelagic seabirds close to shore. Underwater, dolphins sing to each other in high-pitched whistles, squeaks, and clicks. I stand at the gunnel and sing all the lyrics I can remember. Should have started this before I read. My life flows on an endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Dolphins hear 7 times better than humans. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? Dolphins surface and disappear in silver sea swells. When you walk through the storm, keep your chin up high and don't be afraid of the dark. They swim close 7 times and slide under the boat. At the end of a storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Long shadows in clear water. Sailing across Florida Straits to the Bahamas, I would sing carols on night watch to stay awake. 3 times a dolphin rolls to eye me. Contact, contact, which is a quote from Thoreau. One throws a fish into the air to play. Keith says, as if to play. I say, as if a gift. Thoroughly chilled, heading back to dock, we see dolphins in the creek chasing speckled trout. Skeptical scientist Keith won't admit dolphins liked my singing. Okie doke. Do you guys have energy? Hi. About time. You just missed the dolphin poems. All right, I've got a couple more. Let me do just part of murmuration. At low tide, my kayak can't cross shallow marsh channels behind Carrot Island to see shorebirds on Guthrie Shoal, but I find black skimmers that convene on Sand Dollar Island at low tide. They launch as my kayak approaches. When black skimmers fly in a crowd, I can't tell which bird leads. As the scoop turns and changes direction east to west, a second bird leads the bunch. Sometimes the middle flies up or drops down. They fold double darker. Do all 100 birds have one collective mind, moving so close they don't collide? 3 rules for murmuration. Watch and follow your 7 closest neighbors. Turn when they turn, don't crowd. Flipping black backs. White bellies and underwings catch the light. The skimmers break in half and thirds, separate and reconvene. Undulating for fun in elegant synchrony. All right, I'm going to read one from each other book. These are Carolina parakeets. I have a big, huge one at home. That's Audubon. Green button, green shade, page 49. And that was in UNC Press. Writers in Eastern North Carolina. So they put me as a Beaufort poet. And the epigraph, little thing in italics, is annihilating all that's made, Andrew Marvell, to a green thought in a green shade. We have lost their laughing color in the sky. Let me move this up. Did I break it? Yeah. Come on. There, can you see that? We've lost their laughing color in the sky. The only wild parrot this far north, lost because honeybees filled their nests because we chopped down cypress swamps. I count 7 askew in Audubon's print by my bed, life size a foot long, leaf green tail and wings, yellow neck and scarlet cheeks, big black eyes and curved beaks biting cockleburs. When one bright parrot was shot, the loud emerald flock would sink and surround her bewildered. We humans rarely see such devotion. Was it love, fearlessness, or folly? For a hunter could shoot 100 more on the ground and fill a burlap sack for the milliner to adorn preening ladies' bonnets. One gunman said, several shots fill a basket. After shooting these 7 to paint, Audubon wrote, the flesh is tolerable food, but kept as pets, they never learned to talk. Shot for green, fashion feathers, shot because hundreds picked an orchard clean, in fact, bit to the core for the seeds and spit out whole the white apple fruit. The last died in the wild 100 years ago, the last one in a zoo soon after. What fun would one have alone who frolicked with such raucous company? Women no longer wear feathered hats, but Carolina parakeets are long gone, like the ivory bill, despite uncertain flashes of vivid green through the trees. And this is fun. How pink. The first house I bought as a teacher, I painted the mantelpiece white, pink, a rosy pink that matched the inside of a queen conch shell I collected sailing in the Bahamas. I paint my Beaufort house pink, which broke. Right, yes. And that's by my cousin. Like all 9 houses on Gun Key, a tiny island on the Florida Straits between Lauderdale and Nassau, like one house on Portsmouth Island by Ocracoke Inlet, because the mail boat delivered 1 can of red and 1 can of white paint. Not Pepto-Bismol, peach, apricot, cherry, salmon, cotton candy, coral, or cartoon piglet. Pale pink, gene tumor in cane, compared a lady's complexion to the eastern horizon at sunset. I worship sunsets, good as any religion. What better use of an afternoon than to wait on the waterfront and stare at the sky for flaming streaks of magenta reflected in the creek or faded blushing hues. Considering what color to paint these dining room walls, peeling badly, not scraped or sanded for 38 years. I want a white in the lightest shade of pink to match Audubon's flamingo print or dragon fruit Venetian blinds. A Japonica, I almost brought some, a Japonica camellia by the front porch, blooming at solstice after first frost, is cherry pink like the house outside. The ragged edge of the petal is pastel, contemplative white, I want for walls inside, like the pink and white roseate spoonbill that strayed from Key West to Bird Shoal. Okay, one last song. Unless you have any requests. Silence. Okay, sir.
I have a request.
Yes, sir, please.
How to pick a good one.
We got that first. 2 o'clock. You can watch the recording, which will be available in a week. But thank you. Does anybody want How to Kill Sweet Ants? One more? All right. How to Kill Sweet Ants. This is the companion to that, because you always have to have one ridiculous poem. Okie doke, page 39. Someone. Okie doke. Beaufort is an anthill. Did you guys know that? One scientist estimates several trillion. When Front Street floods, ants and also rats crowd my house on high ground. Ants swarm when I dig in my garden. Like a good Buddhist, I gently ask ants to leave. They don't listen. Hang the hummingbird feeder between 2 lines of monofilament. Ants still fill the feeder. Pour hot water, gas, vinegar in their holes. Doesn't work. Mix borax detergent half and half with sugar. Spread Splenda around the house foundation. Fake sugar kills us too, eventually. Sprinkle baby powder to confuse ants so they lose their scent trail, but don't let your baby eat the stuff. At doorways, scatter cayenne pepper and bay leaves. Draw chalk lines at windowsills. Ants don't like sticky. One more poem. Sticky feet, they come in anyway. Dump diatomaceous earth behind kitchen drawers. Dubious if safe for pets and kids. Spray white vinegar. It's acid, not poison. Cover counters with peppermint, tea tree oil, citronella, costly lavender. The ant parade will smell like a spa. Toss all food scraps in a big glass jar, never in the trash can, that empty it into the compost bin in the front yard, where ants will multiply. Okay, there. The star that keeps me safe. On clear winter nights, the 3 stars of Orion's belt greet me in my front garden, distant but distinct, familiar. When I delivered a sailboat, Beaufort to Antigua 30 years ago, on my night watch alone on deck 8 to midnight, Orion kept me company and served as compass, southeast, 160 degrees. High pressure lasted 3 days across the Gulf Stream before a week of gale winds and high seas to the islands. Recovering from mono, scared my energy would flag. I had left a job as baker at a Quaker retreat to take the sailing gig. A shy tree surgeon who trusted me because I know tree names, pointed to the sky and gave me a star to watch me at sea and for me to watch. Follow Orion's belt left to right to Aldebaran, bright red star, 40 times bigger than our sun, 500 times more luminous, 65 light years away, is the arrow shot by Orion the hunter, the fiery eye of Taurus the bull. Ancients revered stars, named them and told their stories. City dwellers blinded by electric glare, can't see stars in the night sky as clearly as I who sail open ocean or live seaside. To be star blessed, all I have to do is step out, look up, say hello. So many clouds this year. On rare starry nights, I want to unplug the street light down the block. And I originally wrote, I want to shoot out the street light. But then I was afraid the cops might find me.
Oh.
Thanks the museum for hosting us today. And books for sale, and Susan to sign, and answer any questions. Hi, any questions from you guys? Hi, Ted.
Hello, Susan.
How are you, sweetheart?
I'm okay.
Good. Hi, Randy.
Hey, how's Pippa?
Oh, well, she's fine. Elizabeth, Pierre, ça va? We miss you. They're in Paris.
Hey, Susan, how are you?
Love you.
Nice, I enjoyed it.
Gio.
Thank you.
Glad you got it on a weekend.
Yes, thank you.
You bet. Eat cookies, drink.
Please don't leave me. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. I'm sorry, shut you down. Have a great day.